Okay.
I'm excited.
Which chair feels more doctorly for you?
That one feels more doctorly, but this one is giving me fuzzy vibes, so I like this one.
Well, this one actually matches my outfit, so I'm glad that you said that. There's actually like a secret fear of mine that like everything that I say is like narcissist, you know, like.
What do you prefer, Shan, Mrs. Brady?
I prefer Shan. That's even a conversation in itself.
It literally is. I have this conversation like, how do you want to be called? Like, what do you want to be called? Because some people are like, you need to refer to me as Mrs. I'm like,
oh. Yeah, okay. That in itself would be like note.
Right.
Stups.
We'll go back to that.
Hello there, lovers and friends. Let's talk about today's video, okay? It's long overdue and it's extremely necessary. Today, I'm having my first ever official therapy session, and that just sounds mind-boggling to even say that out loud. But that is the truth, and I'm doing this video to hopefully inspire anyone who, like me, was on the fence for a very long time about seeking out professional mental help. Well, this is your wake-up call to go on ahead and just clear that fence, jump over it, and don't look back. This video is inspired by and also sponsored by a service called BetterHelp, which offers online professional counseling. Best of all, it's accessible, it's affordable, it's convenient, and there's four actually different ways you can interact with the counselor based on what your comfort level is. BetterHelp has only licensed and credentialed therapists who are on call waiting just for you. They have all been certified by their state board. For example, my therapist, Keandra Jackson.
Hello everybody, my name is Keandra Jackson. I am a licensed marriage and family therapist here in the state of California. I'm also known as America's #1 relationship therapist. I have been featured on so many different amazing platforms like the Emmy award-winning TV show The Doctors, BET, Vice, Fox, and I've been named by the Huffington Post as one of the top 10 Black female therapists you should know. I have the privilege of being on so many amazing apps out there, especially BetterHelp, which allows me to speak with people all over the state to get the benefits that they need for mental health services that may not necessarily want to come to my office.
So have you ever gone to therapy before?
I have gone to therapy. Listen, for everybody out there, listen. I'm gonna look into the camera for this one. If your therapist does not have a therapist, please run. I always tell people that when I was looking for my therapist 7 years ago, I went through 7 different clinicians before I found the right person.
Right.
Do not give up, because it might take you 7 times like me, but on the 7th time, you find somebody that you're gonna stick with for an eternity. You know what I mean? And I wouldn't trade my therapist for the world.
I'm gonna ask you a fill-in-the-blank question.
Okay.
Therapy is for,
because I was about to say everybody.
Right.
Like for sure. Therapy is for the person who is experiencing something emotionally within them and they're not sure what it is. Something's going on internally, but you can't really pinpoint. It's just like, I know I'm not myself.
Yes.
That's who therapy is for.
Which is like so parallel to what the doctor's for.
Totally.
When you're like, my stomach, I don't really know. I've got this weird thing on the side. I'm really gassy of late.
Yeah.
That's a perfect way of putting it.
Yeah. And I also think, and I'm learning this from my personal life, I think therapy is also for the people like us who have so many amazing things happening in their lives and moving at light speed, and you need to process it. And you need to process it with someone that's objective. Mm-hmm. Not your friend, not your homegirl, not your family member who is all up in it. Someone that's like, whoa, this is really amazing. How are you developing into the person that you're supposed to be? It's not always about the negative. You know, people think like, oh, I'm depressed, I'm sad, I just had this breakup, my life is in shambles. And I'm like, you can go to therapy when things are good too. Yeah. It's okay to do that, because it's really about maintenance. You want to make sure you're maintaining your mental health, so if something does happen, you already have the tools to handle it. Mm-hmm. That's the most important thing.
You know what's funny about, you gave me this incredible form to fill out prior,
yes,
which I really did enjoy doing, and I didn't anticipate enjoying it so much. Mm-hmm. But even the first page of like, what is your name and race, I'm like, oh, this is already stressful. I'm glad I'm here.
That's hilarious.
Yeah.
So that's why I wanted to make sure that you prefer that I call you Shan.
Yes.
Got you. Not Mrs. Brady and all of that stuff.
I mean, that's a new one. I think my thing more so was like Shan versus Shannon.
Gotcha.
Which is a very weird distinction for me, but like genuinely, I've hated my name my whole life. And I grew up spelling my name Shenan.
Oh.
And my parents were like, why? I'm just like, just to make it something different. And I remember I met this girl maybe like when I was maybe 20, and her name was Shan. And I was like, Nin? And she's like, no, just Shan. And I was like, I wish my name was just Shan. And then I was like, why can't it be?
And that's really what that first page is about, is really your identity. So even some people get stuck on the ethnicity or the race.
Because you're accustomed to the boxes, which gives me a chance to check.
Absolutely.
And so I like that it was just like, fill it in. And then I'm like, identity crisis.
Sometimes it doesn't give you the opportunity to say, you know what? My mom is half black and half white, right?
Yes.
And my dad is Guyanese, right? So it allows me to learn more about you versus just checking those boxes.
I mean, there's not any box in life I think I neatly fit inside of, like even career-wise. So like that in itself was like a nice exercise.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So as I was looking through your questionnaire, one of the things, or two of the things that really stood out to me that I want to talk to you about is strengths and weaknesses.
Oh, yay.
Yes. You stated your strengths were bold, smart, funny, hardworking, and thoughtful.
Not only do I see as strengths, but I see as things that I want to be. They're also goals.
Okay.
They're goals of mine that I have in mind when I talk to people. So I want for, no matter what, if I walk away and someone's like, smart's number one. That's the most important thing to me in the whole entire world. If someone walks away and says she's smart, like that's
mission accomplished.
Mission accomplished.
So tell me about these weaknesses. You also put bold as a weakness, and you also put bold as a strength. So you put bold, unempathetic, and somewhat robotic.
Yes.
So that's very different than how I imagine or how you present to be. So tell me about these weaknesses.
You know what? Actually, a friend of mine nicknamed me Shanbot because
really,
I mean, maybe you might actually relate to this in that I love like looking at the macro versus micro. So if someone tells something specific, I'm like, I'll lend it back to a behavior study that I read or something interesting that I found.
Gotcha.
And if someone tells me a personal story, often I'm like, statistically, this many people can relate to what you're saying. And I'm a love it or hate it personality. I've been that way my whole life.
I can relate to that.
In high school, there's probably a pretty, depending on who you talk to, I could be the worst person or the best person. Very rarely are you gonna be like, take it or leave it. She's kind of there or not there. Like you have a perspective on me. And so my boldness, I think, works to my benefit and sometimes I'll say things to people that I don't even realize is offensive because I'm just like chatting. And then later on, I'm like, like I'm so grateful. Like Jared is so empathetic and so mindful.
That's a good balance.
I also love it about myself, but I recognize that I could do a better job of channeling it when it's appropriate.
Gotcha. So since you talked about that just now, like let's go there a little bit. So how are your relationships? Let's talk about maybe like family and even friendships, and then maybe even your relationship with your spouse. Or your partner.
I have a really awesome, I mean, I think a primary reason why I thought of therapy is not a fit for me is because I'm like, I have incredible relationships. Like that is the number one thing that I pride myself on.
That's really good.
It's my greatest accomplishment. I mean, mind you, it's accomplishments like the wrong word because my parents gifted that to me. They had a great relationship. We have a great relationship. They made it really a big emphasis that me and my sister bonded. And so like that was the base. I was actually having this conversation with Jay the other day that I'm like, and sometimes I feel ungrateful if I'm unhappy in life, knowing that I have this amazing gift that is love, support, and stability from people I care about. And I'm like, I feel ungrateful for even being miserable some days because I'm like, bitch, perk up.
What's wrong with you?
Yeah, it's like, be grateful. Like, what are you sad about?
I think that that's something that you should hold on to.
Yeah.
Because that's not something that everybody has, right? I told you about even like my experiences growing up, how, I didn't see a healthy relationship. And it's funny that you mentioned that because, and this may not be your scenario, but oftentimes when people say that they have two-parent homes, right? People automatically assume it was perfect, it was great, it was loving, but I've also seen a lot of dysfunction when people stay together too.
Yeah,
right?
of course, yeah. Like, was your parents breaking up for you because you were 10, so you kind of saw it? So were you grateful or were you crushed?
You know what? At the time, I was crushed because I was like, oh, my daddy's leaving me, But as I got older, I understood why it needed to happen. And that really shaped me and prepared me for the work that I do now. But I'm interested to find out, like, how are you and Jay, since you guys have such different upbringings, parenting styles, rearing, and all of that stuff, like, how does that play into conflict resolution with you guys? Especially because you have both of your parents at the house, right? So what did they model for you in regards to how to resolve conflict?
You know what's bizarre is that my sister and I were our parents' therapists from a young age.
Wow.
I mean, they would be, and in many ways, maybe that's not healthy, that we would be in the middle of arguments picking sides, because they'd be like, here's what happened, and then we'd pick a side on who was right or talk about it. It'd be like a lot of family work. That's just so I really approach arguments or conflict from that standpoint of like, it's holistic, let's all talk about this, like let's get everything on the table. It's not like we have to pretend we're perfect.
When you mentioned too that your parents would bring you guys in, how old were you? Kind of like end on those conversations with like, oh, pick a side type thing.
Like 8, 10, yeah. I remember like it's really early on,
Yeah. I was thinking that oftentimes that could be a form of being parentified. So bringing a child into an adult situation, right? When you're 8, you should be worried about like, let's go play and hang out and enjoy life, and let's go, sister, like let's go ride our skates, and you know, versus being called into adult conversations, right, on like whose side you're gonna pick.
It's like kind of, but it's also really cool, like especially from a standpoint of like, my sister is like a perfect human being to me. Like she is the benchmark of humanity, but she's a killer conflict resolution. So I would watch her work in awe.
It served a purpose.
You know how like some kids work really young and you're like, you should be playing, but you're like, actually I kind of like working the shop, and like I learned a lot of skills along the way. And so like maybe I could have been outside skateboarding, but ultimately like I learned a lot of business skills at a very young age. So.
Totally. So a few other things that really stood out to me was that you stated that you often have frequent worry and tension.
Yeah.
Can you tell me a little bit about it?
I mean, I'm a freelancer, and I'm an immigrant, you know, so for a long part of me even coming to America, I was a single woman living by myself. And so I'm always in a state, stability is not a part of my life. I was having this conversation with somebody about, I think everybody needs stress in their life. Stress is healthy.
Absolutely.
And so if you have a stressful career, that's why for me, like relational stress is just not an option, because I'm already in a
chaotic world
relationship with my career. I already have that.
That makes sense.
I don't get called back sometimes.
Right.
I get inconsistent rewards. Like I already get that from one area.
Totally.
So I actually want to ask a question.
Sure.
Do you feel like the use of the word depression is a positive thing or a negative thing?
I think in this society we use it so just free now that it's starting to concern me. And I spoke about this last night actually. There's something different between like clinical depression, where like I may need to go on medication, or I'm feeling so horrible internally, or there may be a chemical imbalance, versus like I'm just sad today, or I just had a bad day, you know,
or I'm making a slew of bad decisions, and my life as a result of that is not pleasurable.
Totally. So I'm worried that we're using that term just so freely, and it's not really applicable to what's really going on. And it makes me wonder, for people who really do have depression, how it feels to hear someone talk about it in a different manner. And they're like, that's not let me tell you what real depression is, you know? So it bothers me, it worries me a little bit where we're going with it, but I think people should be a little bit more cautious with the words that they use. So.
But the good news is that in either case, go to therapy.
Either case.
Right, either case. So
I love that. Either case, get some help, make sure that you're on track.
Yeah.
Awesome. So tell me also, so for someone who seems so vibrant, kicking butt in your area of influence, doing so many TV, speaking engagements, and all of that stuff, tell me about the social discomfort that you experience, because you check often on that check mark box.
I don't mind this about myself, but my roboticness and that like smart, bold, funny, like those are the goals. And if I'm in a social interaction, I don't feel like I hit those goals, and I'm like, I left feeling scattered, or I left feeling uncompelling, or maybe I left feeling like I didn't get to really exercise where I'm strong at, I will leave with like disappointment in myself.
Gotcha.
So I'm like constantly grading. I'm like B+, C-.
Got a C- today, but I'm gonna aim for that B next time. Yeah. I think that's real.
Is that good or bad? I'm not sure.
Real. I can't say that it's good or bad, but I think the fact that you're aware of it is crucial, right? And it also speaks to the people who really know you, right, versus your social media followers who may not know you personally, or whoever the case may be, right?
Do you know what I've been struggling with of late, of just like as an overall concept? Of like, people's opinions don't matter. But then it's like,
do they?
We live in a cooperative society. We're social animals. And like, we could never survive alone. And on top of that too, like so much of society is based on supply and demand. And like, in order to successfully, whether you're selling toilet paper or you're selling yourself, like people's opinions matters, because I am subject to so many people's opinions all the time. I am just like, I actually took a sabbatical from OPP, other people's perspectives.
I love it. I love it.
But I'm just like, I don't know how much we're really, where do I sit on that of like, because I actually do think there's positive, constructive criticism. I'm not somebody who believes in like a self. I don't believe like I am who I am. I believe I am whoever I consistently choose to be.
Gotcha.
And sometimes I can choose better. And so it's nice to actually be in a place where people criticize you, because you're like, oh, I wouldn't have noticed that. Maybe it's taken me 7 years to notice that. But it's being pointed out in this specific way.
I also feel like there's a lot of people who have opinion on stuff, and their opinion is so irrelevant. Like, you don't matter at all, whether it's someone close or not. You have to decide for you what that looks like. Can I draw something out for you really quick?
Please, yeah.
In the middle, right? That circle there is literally who you want to be closest to you with. But then this lane or this circle out here is people who you want to be close to you, but they have a little distance. And then these are people on the outside who you're like, I don't care how close you are to me, but you're gonna have some way distance.
I would definitely draw one more circle in there for me.
You closer?
Well, farther. And then it is like supporters and people who follow me who have an invested interest in what I do, who I actually do consider them to be somewhat close. So I do consider their opinion to matter. And then it's just like the noise.
Gotcha.
But sometimes it's hard to differentiate the supporters from the noise.
Creating those barriers between you and other people can really help you have a lot more sanity, because if you're so readily accessible, right, and they know you're going to read that comment, they know you're going to respond to your DM, they're going to be more apt to kind of pull on you, you know. And then as helpers, right, we feel guilty. Like, man, that person really needed our help, but I really don't have the capacity to do it, you know. So we have to find a place within ourselves to say, you know what, I am going to give them a resource where they can get help. I don't necessarily have to always be the resource.
Like BetterHelp?
Like BetterHelp.
And that was it. That was my first therapy session. My cherry is officially popped. And if you do feel like you're ready to take that extra step, I do recommend that you try out BetterHelp. But before I push you in that direction, I have to address a controversy that they had, I believe in October of last year, in which on YouTube and Specificity, the validity of their therapist was being called into question. I took this very seriously, as I'm sure many of you did, because the last thing that you want is for people who have been a little shy about getting to therapy to go and put their trust in a service that hasn't done the work in ensuring that every single person who claims to be a healthcare provider has done the work, has gone to school, has gotten necessary exams, is certified, is licensed, etc. So I spoke with a BetterHelp rep, and they assured me that they are extremely rigorous in their vetting process, and every single person has to be licensed, has to be certified, has to have at least 3 years of professional experience, and have done 2,000 hours before they even get to you. Best of all, there's a 100% money back guarantee. So if you do try the service and you don't connect with the person, 1, or 2, you didn't really feel like it was the best help for you, no problem. You get your money back, and then hopefully you continue your search. If you actually join BetterHelp and you live in California, you might just get partnered with Keandra, and then we'll have the same therapist. How cute will that be? You can go in the info box below to find all of her links to learn more about her. And also in the info box, of course, is information on BetterHelp, a service that allows you to get the help that you need from licensed and credentialed therapists and counselors. With BetterHelp, there is financial aid for those who qualify, and for everyone else, it's a monthly subscription fee, so you don't have to be counting the sessions or feeling bad about how often you want to reach out and speak to somebody and get the help that you truly need. The service, once again, is available worldwide, and it has a 100% money back guarantee. The most crucial thing is that you feel like it's the help that you need, and if it isn't, don't worry, you get your coins back in your purse, and you can continue to search for a service that does fit your needs. But above all else, I want you guys to be dedicated to this venture, and I'm going to be on this venture with you. Let's continue to challenge ourselves to treat our mental health and to take care of ourselves in this specific way. And that being said, I have a question for all of you in the comment section. If you have never gone to therapy before, which I was a part of your group just a few short hours ago. But if you've never gone to therapy before, why not? What's been holding you back? And if you have gone to therapy before, tell us about your experience and how it has benefited your life.
Yeah, I used to think about you when I had no one to talk to. Hella bougie, kinda moody, bouncing when you walk through. And you used to get that Brazilian wax. Yeah, I put that on wax. Cell phone, pull it out the zillion bag. How you getting stacks? Where they flying you? Where you flying to? Oh, I see you in the island. Mama call, but your cell phone always silent. You a pirate floating overseas for the diamond. Ain't surprising.